Hello and thanks for keeping the date for tonight's edition of the News in English on Canal International. As always, it is brought to you live from our base in central Douala. For starters, here's Kejan Henry Atembe with the headlines.
World Cup 2022. Lions head coach Rigobert Song-Bahanak on a nadir after what Cameroonians consider his controversial 26-man squad released after a dismal performance with the Reggae Boys of Jamaica, dropping some key players like Ngande and banking on old foxes and oxens. Mayor Martin Tanjong of Tuba in the northwest region of Cameroon has told parents to withdraw their children from illegal schools mushroomed as a result of the socio-political conflicts and enroll them in schools run by government. And Cameroonian women told to be conscious of the challenges ahead as they venture in corporate governance position without jeopardizing their family cohesion. The 6:15 news rolls out in a jiffy with anchorman Ntarike Divine, Ramsey Jr.
Now, in contrast to the years gone by, it can be safely concluded that separatist calls for the boycott of schools across Cameroon's English-speaking regions has considerably subsided. But in the following report from Tuba in the northwest region, we gather that proprietors of clandestine schools, and that's a new phenomenon that's gaining momentum, proprietors of clandestine schools are luring and cajoling parents to withdraw their children from government schools. Sherifa Saleh and Annie Collins say it is a phenomenon that's making the authorities in those parts to frown.
The phenomenon of illegal schools has been decried in Tuba subdivision in Meizam division of the Northwest region. In a municipal council session this Thursday, November 10, Mayor Martin Tanjong has told councillors to carry the message to their respective constituencies for parents to pull out their children from such schools and enroll them in schools owned and run by the government.
You go to schools that they pay tens of thousands. For parents that cannot produce a best education for a child, we're going to pay 30,000 to a private school for a child to go there, buy uniform, buy everything. I'm calling on the parents to remove their children from those type of Canal school, send them to the government schools.
Enlarged to grassroots communities, the meeting has also pondered into the question of insecurity with a chunk of the over 800 million francs adopted budget for 2023 to be dedicated to solar energy.
The plan is not just planting poles, we want to build a solar station. Just like what Sonia have in Tanko, where the light can be solar can be distributed from that station and can also be interrupted from that station.
On behalf of the supervisory authority, who is a senior divisional officer for Meizam, the divisional officer for Tuba has called for clear tenancy agreements with traders, like in the bamboo market recently.
We want to recommend to the council that as soon as possible, contract corrections should be done over that market, and we should be able to identify the actual businessmen who run shares in that market. As
concerns the muddy and dusty nature of the main road leading to the university town of Bambali, inhabitants have been promised all will be all right before the year runs out.
Now, statistics from the Ministry of Transport indicate that road crashes result in the deaths of about 1,000 people across Cameroon, and that's every year. A major reason could be the ignorance or the shared disrespect of the highway code by users. Now, an association crusading for zero accidents across Cameroon says including journalists in the effort could help turn around the situation. Here's Beatrice Ngamo from Yaoundé.
The World Health Organization statistics on road accidents reveals 15% is due to the state of the roads, 12% state of vehicles, and 70% by men. In Cameroon, some 1,000 lives are claimed, many wounded and maimed yearly due to road accidents. It is in this regard that the Association for Better Cameroon Zero Deaths on Our Roads places the media at the center of road prevention strategy.
There are general complaints that journalists always give information about road accidents. They complain only about the bad roads and stuff. And getting journalists involved in this is a great thing because we are not just going to be informing the people, we are going to join in the sensitization process to get the people know what to do and what not to do to stay safe from road accidents.
The raison d'être of the capacity building seminar this November the 10th.
As you know, in the world we have more than 1 million of people who are dying on the road, and it's too much. We think that we need more people who are involved about this cause. That's why we have organized this workshop.
Modular focus includes impact of media community on road safety, road prevention and safety, and good media practices on the coverage of road safety. At the end, journalists are living with additional experience, new to many.
On sait désormais.
We now know that we have to, for example, blur images, showing less and less blood because there are people allergic to such, show less injuries. This initiative is in prelude to the World Day of Remembrance for Road Accident Victims to be commemorated on the third Sunday of this month, that is, on November the 20th, 2022.
Now, the Cameroon Customs Department is nurturing big ambitions in terms of its contributions to the state coffers as well as the national budget for 2023. In fact, the department says it is strategizing to raise over 1,000 billion CFA francs as revenue, a 16.3% jump from the current year. So how will the objectives be attained? Gladys Sambo attempts answers.
1,004.7 billion CFA francs is the total amount the Customs Department in Cameroon is expected to raise in 2023, an increase of 140.8 billion CFA francs, that is 16.3% increase in relative value as compared to 2022. At a recent hybrid coordination meeting of heads of centralized and decentralized services of the General Directorate of Customs, it was disclosed that an additional average monthly effort of 11.7 billion CFA francs was required to meet the targeted customs revenue next year. To meet the objective, therefore, the Customs Department per sector will have to optimize the mobilization of spontaneous revenue by taking into consideration progress made in foreign trade, new customs measures for the 2023 finance law, administrative measures, and factors with negative impacts that could stem from the Economic Partnership Agreement and the African Continental Free Trade Area. The Director General of Customs, Adrian Fongot Novager, has encouraged staff of his department, adding the key to attain the set objective is simply to perfectly master the strategies and respect the values of the Customs Administration, which are professionalism, transparency, and efficiency.
Now, as the Douala City Council begins to fold sleeves in preparations for the rollout of projects intended to give the country's economic nerve center a much-needed facelift, subcontractors are bracing up to grab some of the projects listed on the 60 billion CFA franc budget. But the City Council says only subcontractors in full compliance with regulations will be taken into consideration. Kejang Henry Atembe.
60 billion CFA francs is hanging at the Douala City Council for subcontractors to bid for. This amount was revealed during a partnership day between subcontractors and the Douala City Council on November 9, 2022.
They have difficulties to execute their contracts because of the lack of technicity, because of the lack of means. We are now in some institutions, financial institutions, to allow them to finance this activity.
With many projects in the pipe, these entrepreneurs of small and medium-sized enterprises were groomed on the necessity to constantly innovate and remain competitive.
We are convinced that to keep this pole position, we have to enhance, to reinforce, and to make sure that enterprises are involved in all the projects we want to set up in the town. Douala has a budget 50 to 60 millions of francs are released in the economical pathway.
According to the Secretary General at the Ministry of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, the problem is not to win contracts, but to execute as per the project's specifications. But beyond the question of bidding for contracts is the sorrowful ordeal of many entrepreneurs who constantly complain of financial difficulties as banks have lost trust in them due to the non-respect of financial engagements by the government.
Now, some schools of thought hold that one of the reasons women mostly occupy the back benches in several areas of life is because they don't believe in themselves. Now, hundreds of women have come together in Douala in bids to seek ways of surmounting some of those challenges and, of course, grow their leadership skills. Ndi Maureen.
When we talk of the alpha woman, we talk about this woman who is positioned, this woman who protects their clan, this woman who is not afraid to let maybe somebody shaken them because they have built this foundation, this resilience around them to overcome some challenges that might come their way.
They are all women with a burning desire to either create their own companies or experience growth in their career. But again, the women easily identify skills and see such leadership positions when such opportunities crop up. Challenges often set in.
The first thing you have to think about is agency. Think of yourself as your agency. What does that mean? It means you will put things in place that will help you grow. Number two, I will talk about authenticity. Whatever we do, we must stay true to ourselves.
This conference holding in Douala under the banner of Corporate Women in Leadership is aimed at shaping the mindsets of women by ensuring women fully embrace the gifts of imperfection, becoming a resonant leader by developing their emotional intelligence and sustaining their effectiveness.
You need a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice. After the graduating, they need to work somewhere to acquire an experience and to have more skills.
Different speakers from varying sectors caution the women to master the environment, remain focused, package properly, and constantly innovate while believing in themselves.
We're sorry for that slight hitch there, but have you hung around with some of your friends lately and noticed that some of them only smile half-heartedly? Well, it may not necessarily imply that they are not in the mood for merrymaking. It may well be because they can only hardly expose their bad teeth in public. Hopefully, a couple of dental surgeons have been meeting in Douala and are proposing solutions. Stephanie Chin was there with them and now reports.
Just like every other part of the human body, the teeth are very important. However, inadequate care or the neglect of hygienic measures leads to dental diseases or toothache, a phenomenon which has drawn the attention of dentists in Douala.
The aim is to get in touch with adhesive dentistry has many benefits for our patients. So it allows us to conserve more tooth and to keep the tooth longer in our patient mouth. So it's really a key points of our practice to offer to our patients better treatments.
Dental diseases are known to have instilled stigma in the lives of victims whose smiles have been completely buried. In other cases, victims of dental diseases risk losing their lives.
Dental disease may have many repercussions to the health of our patients. Hopefully, this is less and less the case, but we have to know that we can die of a dental disease.
In a seminar organized in Douala this Thursday, November 10, dentists are deliberating on techniques to combat dental diseases.
With adhesive dentistry, we can make almost everything to our patient teeth, to bring them wider, to change the shape, to change the smile of our patient. And all is linked. If you can go adhesive dentistry, you can go cosmetic dentistry.
Dentists have emphasized on the need to brush the teeth regularly or at least 3 times per day to avoid infection.
Now, the Bible says many are called and only a few are chosen. And out of the many called in the lead up to the Qatar World Cup and Cameroon's preparations, to be precise, Coach Rigobert Song has selected a roster of 26 indomitable to bear the country's flag at the Global Football Extravaganza. That list, unfortunately, does not include the likes of Ngade, Michael Ngajui. Stephanie Chin.
Michael Ngade has been left out of Cameroon's squad for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar after Coach Rigobert Song named his 26-man selection for the tournament on Wednesday. Rigobert Song also surprisingly included Swaibu Maru and Jerome Gom, 2 players plying their trade on the domestic Elite One Championship. Vincent Aboubakar will captain the Cameroon team at the World Cup. Meanwhile, it will also be a 3rd World Cup for 32-year-old defender Nicolas Nkulu, as well as an Bayern Munich attacker Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting. Nkulu made a comeback to the team in September after a 5-year absence, having retired from the side after they won the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations. Rigobert Song did not give any reasons for the known selection of Belgian-based centre-back Ngade Ngajui. Cameroon will be appearing at the World Cup for the 8th time, a record number of appearances for an African nation. They will take on Switzerland, Serbia and Brazil in Group G, and their first game is scheduled for November 24.
Thanks, Stephanie. And now an avalanche of reactions have been oozing from quarters near and far as a result of the non-selection and, of course, the inclusion of some players on that list of 26. Hyacinth Chia has been talking to a couple of journalists and sports analysts in the capital, Yaoundé. And, of course, Ngade Ngajui's name remains a major talking point countrywide. Here's Chia Hyacinth.
The composition of the 26-man list, with priority given to the attacking compartment, poses a major worry in the eyes of sports analysts.
I was surprised that the attack line has a bunch of players, that's 10 players, whereas the attack line will be maximum of 3 attackers. So I think 10 players need to be the enormous 9 midfielders and just 7 defenders, whereas we needed to be strong at the back.
And with the coming back of veteran defender Nicolas Nkulu, who has played barely over 10 games in 2 years for club, and a key performance figure like Michael Ngade, who has been decisive in major games, left out from the squad. There is fear for catastrophic results during the biggest football fiesta.
We are playing in a group where we have players like Vinicius, Pedro, Rafinha from the Brazilian squad, a fleet-footed attacker like Mitrovic, Alexander from Serbia, will give a very tough time to our defense. And I feel that Nkulu, who retired 5 years ago, coming back may not have that stamina to really control the defense. The central defense axis.
When you look at those caught up, we don't really feel that solidity at the back. You know, if you want to win a football match, you need a good attack. But if you want to win a tournament, you need a good defense. So that alone raises a lot of concerns.
However, with 2 home-based players, Cameroon Ballon d'Or winner Maro Swaibu of Cotonsport of Garoua and Jerome Ngombeleki of Jai Lobo making the final list of the World Cup expedition. Many say it is a plus to the local championship.
It is equally to sell the domestic championship, which of course has been revitalized with the coming in of Eto'o at Faker Foot.
The comeback of Christian Bassogog, who was barely a shadow of himself during the African Nations Cup in Cameroon, is another surprise of Song's list. But with top form players like Andre Onana, Frank Zambo Anguissa, Brian Bomu, and Bayern Munich goal poacher Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting, there is hope for Cameroon.
Of course, let's keep our fingers tightly crossed until the World Cup is over. Now, coming up right after me, Lil Pijo and our guests will discuss the worth of introducing new banknotes in the CIMAC sub-region, as announced very recently. At 1950, Alain Ghislain Kanga will come up with more news in French. Stay safe until we come around once again tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.